Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Foyer. It's our time after Mass to essentially just to continue the good times you've had during Mass, maybe a little bit more fun, a little bit more interactive right now, even though Mass is a communal prayer. So glad you're joining us.
Mass is fun.
Mass is fun. Guys, Mass is a
fun.
real hoot sometimes. I mean, that's your, gosh, talk about the very serious things. That's okay. It's important to talk about serious things too. I'm Matt Vaughn, Communications Coordinator here at St. Benedict Parish. I'm joined by our pastor, homilist, celebrant, resident, shawarma lover.
Yes, indeed.
Father Simon Lobo. And I was going to say your soccer position, but I don't know what it is. Are you a striker?
Neither do I, which is part of the problem.
Okay. Well.
I play kind of like, little league soccer or whatever. Yeah, shortstop. Yeah, exactly.
It's you and
I chase the ball.
Yeah.
Chase the ball, and usually Father Alex is just chasing faster than me, so he's ahead. Yeah.
Imagining a knot of like middle-aged men chasing a ball around.
Yeah.
A unsurprising face to see here at the Digital Foyer, but not one we've had too many times. Seminarian Isaac Longworth is here. Seminarian intern. We sometimes use the hyphenated seminarian intern.
Seminarian intern.
Yeah, which I enjoy that.
Not just a seminarian, not just an intern. I'm both.
That's right. He gets a little bit of both, which is good.
Yeah.
So we're so glad that you're joining us today. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions we have. There are people. It's all right. It's all good. Yeah. So if you have any questions for Isaac, I know you just obviously just spoke with us, which we're glad for that. But if anybody has any specific questions, like if you want to know what kind of playlist he's going to be asking, playing on the road back.
Oh.
Kind of the route he's thinking about doing.
What kind of playlist?
Yeah, I think that's important.
It's very important. So in order to have any good road trip, you need to have a good amount of music. So I like to mix it up, but there's a couple pitfalls that I don't get trapped in. Let's just say that. So I'm not a huge country fan.
Oh wow,
that's
great road trip music though. I mean,
I know, but I don't. For some reason, it just doesn't gel. But I have my road trip playlist ready, and it will carry me through.
Now, I gotta ask: is it a mix of music, podcasts? Is there an audiobook in there by any chance?
It's going to be mostly music. Okay. The one change to that is that I actually have the Bible, the New Testament, on audiobook. But it's got like different people reading it, almost like it's like a theater production, and sound effects and stuff like that. So you'll hear like the waves crashing if he's like calming the storm and stuff. So I'll plug that in for a couple of hours too, and kind of immerse myself, which is awesome. I love that. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so we do have a serious question to get to right off the top here,
Sure,
which is good. Now, in recent weeks, there's been a lot of questions about the residential schools that come up. Sometimes it's hard to work into their conversation, I know, because we've been dealing with such a heavy topic anyway with our series that we're doing right now.
Yes.
So it hasn't always been the easiest time, and I would also, we don't have unlimited time here in the foyer, and so we don't want to end, and give 2 minutes to something that deserves 4 minutes, and then talk about socks. Like, we want to treat things that are important and grave with, kind of that intention and that time. So I'll bring it up here. So Nathan asks, this is a very good question, and I think this is one that a lot of people are wondering right now. What can we say to friends who feel that because of the tragic acts at things like residential schools, that the Catholic Church is broken and it's hypocritical to support it? So there's kind of the sense is here, like, what do I say to my friends who aren't Catholic, who look at me as the Catholic in their life, and they go, how can you keep going to church?
Great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess right off the top, the first thing I want to say is if you haven't yet read the letter that I wrote on residential schools, maybe I'll even write some more in the next Benedictus. It's such an important topic and a lot of thought, and it wasn't just me, by the way, writing that letter, like so much input from other people, including these guys right here. I think that's an important starting place to do that, and also some other important information that can help you is stuff the Archdiocese has been putting out. They've been really on it on their website. They have frequently asked questions and offering lots of context and history. But I think the number one thing is this: there's a lot of people today who are really hurting. They're really in pain, and both either Catholics or non-Catholics who feel the pain of scandal because of what's happened. And we don't want to try to dismiss that or become overly defensive or anything like that. I think the first thing is just to acknowledge that pain and admit the wrongs and say, like, you can just simply say, you know what, it's true that there were horrible things that happened. There were abuses that happened in these residential schools, and I'm not supportive of that. I'm so sad that they happened. I'm sorry that they happened, and I just want you to know that I'm aware of that. And so I think the first thing is not to in any way start with a defense or or an explanation or give context or say things like, well, it was the times or it was this or that or, So that would be the starting point. And I think that message needs to ring out loud and clear above everything else. And then, one thing for me, as I try to, there was a joke, I hear that there's a bunch of hypocrites going to your church, why would I go to it? And somebody said, well, you can just join us and there'll be one more, right? Like every single one of us, at some level, we're hypocrites. Like the church is not made up of a bunch of perfect people, a bunch of perfect plaster cast saints who have it all together. Like, if that's the case, you know what? Exclude me, like cancel me, because I'm not that person. Like I don't have it all together. I love the image Pope Francis actually used early in his papacy of the church as a field hospital. It's a place where the sick, the broken can come. In fact, this field hospital is kind of a temporary thing that goes out right into the battlefield to help the wounded. And I hope that that's what the church can be, a place where if you choose to stay here in the church and worship God, it's not because you're saying, well, I'm separating myself from all those other people who are hurting. It's like, no, actually, because we're a church that's not turned inwards on ourselves, and I think we try to be really intentional about that here at St. Benedict, we exist for the sake of others. We want to go out. We want to try to heal the wounds of people who've been hurt. And so that's another, by sort of taking a stand, and I understand if this is the issue that causes people to leave, I understand, I'm not judging anybody, but I don't know if that's actually going to be the thing that helps. I actually believe that staying and being part of the solution, helping to make reparation, that word comes from the notion of repairing the damage, I think can do more good than just saying, well, I'm not going to associate myself with all those people who are hypocrites, because again, your pastor's a hypocrite. I'm trying my best to follow Jesus, but I fail miserably. And not that I'm committing crimes or anything, but I am a sinner, right? So anyways, you guys add to that, because it's a really important question.
Yeah. Well, I think you handle it really well, because one of the things you're getting at essentially is that there's a very understandable internal reaction to it, right? Sure. And there's a lot of, I felt a lot of shame and a lot of pain since this all happened. And, it makes me, I have to think about what it means to be Catholic, and that's something I'm praying through and living with, and I think it's a time to pray with it, to recognize God is still God, Jesus still died for us. I think about just that our whole faith is centered on death and resurrection.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in so many ways, this is we're experiencing death. We're experiencing very real deaths for people, and I think that if we stay close to God, if we follow Him, if we seek and try to be more like Jesus in this situation, and try to repair, like you said, right? I think that there is resurrection through this, but it'll take work, and it'll take relying on the Spirit too. So, Isaac, do you want to speak to that there?
Well, I don't have a lot to say, but one thing that I'm trying to do is trying to learn from good encounters that the church has had with Indigenous people in the past. And one of my favorite saints, the person I was named after, is Saint Isaac Jogues. And he was this French priest who left behind the comforts of France to come to Canada because he had a love for the Indigenous people that lived here, and he knew that they hadn't heard about Jesus, and that wore on him. And so he came, and what we often saw in the culture clash between the Europeans and the Indigenous peoples was with something like the residential schools, there was an attempt to try and force them to change their culture, to try and be like us. And what I love about St. Isaac Jogues is that he did the exact opposite. He didn't try and make them like him. He tried to become one of them. He learned their language. He lived with them. They gave him a new name, one that they could speak. He ate their food. He traveled with them. He completely immersed himself in their culture. And he did that intentionally because he wanted to win them for Jesus. He wanted to tell them about the God who had come and died for them. And even though he was sometimes misunderstood, even though sometimes he was attacked and was even tortured at one point, and he escaped back to France, even back in France, he begged his superiors, like, let me go back to Canada. Let me go back to these people. And he went back to them to brave it all over again, even putting his life on the line. And eventually he was killed for what he was doing. And I just look at someone like that as someone who we can exemplify that encounter of meeting people where they're at in order to share our faith, rather than trying to twist things around and make them like us in order to share our faith. So he's one of my heroes, and I think that we can look to them as Catholics and see some examples of how to act.
Yeah, that's really well said, and a great example to bring up as well. So, yeah.
It's a great contrast, right, between this kind of colonial mindset, coercion, versus a genuine inculturation, which I think is that's not a term I just made up. That's really, the church has that understanding and has been much more successful in places where we've tried to understand the culture and from within the culture share Jesus versus just kind of change a culture or destroy a culture or something.
Yeah. There's one is the way of love and one isn't.
Yeah,
I think ultimately, right?
sure,
And I think that's exactly what it is. It's that we want to love and care for that. So yeah, so kind of heavy thing, but we also want to celebrate you, Isaac, and kind of talk a little bit more about what's going on here. There's a question here. They're asking about Nova Scotia food that kind of sticks out to you. Now, I'm maybe a little bit ignorant on this subject, because in my mind, I don't know how different our food is from food back in Ontario or even Detroit where you go to school.
Right.
Is there any dish here that was unique, or maybe you tried here for the first time, you're like, oh yeah, that's like, I will miss that food specifically?
There was 4. And I'll run
okay,
through
wow,
them.
this is
So
good.
lobster,
Very prepared.
Lobster rolls, amazing. 10 out of 10 lobster rolls. Seafood chowder, also amazing. That's probably going to be the one that I miss the most. I did try a lobster on the shell, which was a lot of fun. It was delicious, but it was a bit of work. And I don't want to work that much for my food all the time. So that was fun. But I think the one of most contention was the donair. So I will say that I enjoyed it, because I did. But the sauce, it was a little bit much. So I think that the key to a perfect donair is like a quarter of the sauce, so that there's still the flavor. But it was surprising the first time I had it. I was like, this is a new sauce, which I guess is...
That is a controversial opinion.
It is.
I'm just going to say that right now.
Are you pro donair sauce?
Oh, yeah.
I'm with you, Matt, on this. I am totally with
A
you.
donair has to be kind of a disaster. Like, that's kind of like the point of it is like, this is an issue.
It was all over.
You got to tell this story, though. So Isaac, the genius that he is, he decided to experiment with, change up the variables here in the science experiment. So tell us about what you did.
So I'm a man who, when I see what I want, I make it happen, right?
Man of action.
I'm a man of action.
Yeah.
So I looked, so the donair meat was actually, I found, almost better than shawarma meat, which I love shawarma. Whoa. So I thought to myself, if I could make this like perfect collaboration, and I knew that there was something in Halifax called the donair poutine, so my mind started to work, and I was like, what if I combine the best elements of shawarma with the best elements of donair, and then put it all on fries with gravy and cheese curds? And that's exactly what I did. I asked for a special request, so it was donair meat, fries, gravy, cheese curds, and shawarma toppings. So garlic sauce, pickled beets, tomatoes, onions. It was a mess. It was disgusting, but it was so delicious. I felt like I was dying afterwards.
I feel like there's kind of, the food science makes sense, right? There's a few things in there you're like, you know what, actually, anyway, very well, I like
Mix
that.
and mingle.
I just hope you make it to priesthood. Like, you got 2 years. If you keep eating like that.
It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and now you know why I am literally begging for your prayers to make it.
Right. Do you have a name for that, by the way?
What should
you can think about it on the road trip. You can take an hour.
The schwonair.
Okay.
The dawarma. The dawarma.
It's real interesting. The fries are the one thing I want to kind of get into that, though, because the one thing missing there. Anyway, very good. So we're going a bit long on the Digital Foyer, but we got important things to talk about, both important things and sillier things. That's okay. And so every week in the Digital Foyer, we have a little sock competition. So every week the priests or the seminarians have funny socks they wear during Mass, and then afterwards you get to see them and then vote on who had the best pair. So, for example, last week, Father Simon Lobo, you had, if I'm not mistaken, kind of a Labrador retriever kind of thing. There's kind of a dog thing there. You come from a family, a veterinarian family kind of thing, so there's a allegiance to dogs there as well. And then Father Alex had socks that were very on brand for him about don't wake me, I'm working, I think is what they said, kind of alluding to how much he naps. And the people were crazy for the nap socks. So Father Alex won that one. They're big fans of that. So, gentlemen, this is Isaac's last weekend here with us. I trust you have some socks that are of interest here. So
I've
maybe
got
with
some
Father Simon as pastor, you can go first. Let Isaac know how it goes, and then we'll go from there.
So I'm going, you see a slice of pizza there? I'm actually going 3 weeks running on the dog
Hey, there you
theme.
go.
So this is a corgi eating a slice of pizza. That's amazing.
Have you ever seen that in real
Get
life?
a look at that. I have not.
Okay.
I have not, but I might have to give these socks to my dad at some point.
I think
They're
it'd be a
just
good
so
idea.
amazing.
I'd wash them first. One of my dogs stole a piece of pizza once off the table. It was a whole thing. Isaac, what do you got sock-wise?
Well, very first thing I'm doing is I'm wearing a sweatshirt, actually, is the first thing, which was given to me so that I'll forever remember Nova Scotia. So I'm just a walking name brand right now. But shout out to Mark and Bonnie and Paul and Nancy and Suzanne and Jim and and Rita and Paul and all this amazing life group that got me this so that I'll never forget Nova Scotians. And then to be just on brand, I thought I'll never forget the people here at St. Benedict. So there's the St. Benedict logo with the Divine Renovation logo. So I've learned so much. I've loved it here. I've learned so much about leadership to go forward into my priesthood. And I just thought I would wear these as my final going out, just to say that I love the people here at St. Benedict. I'm going to miss them, and I learned so much from them.
So there we go. So the challenge for you this week is people who are voting on socks. Can you remove your affection and for Isaac from the socks? Can you be objective about your decision? Is the question. But you're gonna.
No, you cannot.
You don't have to be objective either. We're not electing anybody. That's fine. So do you want to vote for Isaac's St. Benedict Parish and Divine Renovation socks, or do you want to vote for Father Simon Lobo's corgi eating a pizza
I feel like
slice
the moral theology question comes into play here. Is it the object of the socks themselves,
right.
the intention, or the circumstance in which you're voting? So I just throw that out there.
You took that right out of my mouth. I was just about to bring that up.
you?
Moral theology was on the tip of the tongue.
It could even be a donair pizza. You never know.
There we go.
That
That's the
might
next
add-
move for the socks, right? Anyway, so vote for those. It's a lot of fun. It's been great being with you this morning, and now we're going to move it over to SBB Kids Online Church with Laura. Take it away.